Okay, hello. This is the School of Athens by Raphael. The School of Athens was a part of a four-painting room called the Stanza della Segnatura in the Vatican. Raphael was commissioned by the Pope at the time to create these paintings in this room, one of which was the School of Athens. It was created during the High Renaissance around 1508 or 1511. It was created along with three other paintings in the room. One of the most important to the School of Athens was directly across from it, as the School of Athens represented knowledge. Um, the one directly across from it represented religion and the relationship with God, um, which is why they're painted across from each other, as it created a sense of community whilst also letting the viewer know that the two are separate. One is knowledge, the other is religion. The main thesis of the painting is based off of the center, where we will find Aristotle and Plato. Plato was Aristotle's teacher. It is easy to um, defer the two, as Plato is on the left. He's obviously older, um, thus giving the idea that he is more wise. He is Aristotle's teacher. The painting is also split this way, as these two are the thesis. They're the main focal point of the painting. They're directly in the center, which you will see on the next slide, um, which allows the painting to be split from left to right. Um, Plato can be seen holding his book Timaeus, and Aristotle can be seen holding his book the Ethics. It is very easy to contrast the painting from left to right. Plato was more interested in the ethereal and the theoretical part of life and knowledge. This is why he is seen. You can't see it in this painting specifically, but you will see it in the next slide. He is seen with his hand pointing towards the sky, almost as saying, we should focus outwards. We should focus on the heavens, not on this earth. Whereas Aristotle is seen holding his hand down towards the earth, saying, no, we need to focus on what is here, what is now, the earth. This can also be represented through the clothes they're wearing. Aristotle is wearing blue and brown, representing earth and water, whereas Plato is wearing red and purple, representing fire and the ether, both of which are weightless. The main painting, the bigger picture, the School of Athens, there are many, many, many details that allow you to break down the the painting. So the painting itself represents the scientific ideologies coinciding with religion. Like I said earlier, it is across from a painting that represents religion and the relationship with God. This painting specifically focuses on the philosophies, which nowadays is just known as our sciences, but it focuses on philosophies and the studies that were taking place at the time. For example, in the bottom left, we can see Pythagoras, which is the famous ancient mathematician who discovered and observed equilibrium and harmony within mathematics. Around him, you can also see students. Pythagoras is the one in what looks like pink with a white robe studying. You can see just to his left a man in yellow peeking over his shoulder as to see what he is doing, trying to take note of what he is doing and learn. There's another person, another figure to his right and up, also in a yellow, also looking down at Pythagoras, trying to understand what he is writing, what he is studying. And there are a few other figures peeking over his shoulder, not necessarily taking notes, but looking, observing, trying to understand what he is doing. On the contrary, in the lower right, we can see Euclid, who is famous for geometry. He's famous for studying lines and perfect geometry. You can see him in the same scenario. He is drawing a geometrical shape, and he has many students around him looking and observing, trying to understand what he is teaching them. Um, Euclid is actually based off of, or modeled off of Bramante, who was the architect who was commissioned to design St. Peter's Chapel. Raphael included this model into the painting because the chapel was designed using perfect squares and perfect spheres, which again goes hand in hand with geometry. Um, it also goes hand in hand with this painting in general. The architecture of the painting is Romantian, but it also is very Roman, which Raphael included on purpose. Um, going back to the symmetry of the painting, on the left, top left, we can see a sculpture of Apollo, who is the god of sun, music, poetry, um, more astral things, which is why he's on the left with Plato, who is again focused more on the ethereal. Whereas on the right, top right, we can see a sculpture who is portrayed as Athena, which is the god of war, and wisdom, which is obviously more practical and grounded to man, who's more involved with man. Um, the painting as a whole, if you just skim across it, don't really focus much. It portrays a gracefulness. It shows the sharing of knowledge and the passing down of knowledge, the evolution of knowledge as a whole, with Plato and Aristotle all in the middle, allowing the orthogonal lines to meet in the middle, um, allowing the viewer to understand that these are our main two characters. These are the focal point of the painting, and that allows the spread. If the viewer starts in the middle and then slowly looks around, that allows the spread. You start to see other philosophers. You see Euclid, you see Pythagoras, portraying the evolution of of philosophy, of learning, of knowledge. Um, so you start with the focal point, which are Plato and Aristotle, the thesis of the painting, them being the main characters. Then you slowly drag out to Euclid, Pythagoras, which then leads you to start looking at their students, their apprentices, the novices. We can also see Diogenes and Heraclitus both sitting on the staircase. If you'll notice, the painting is sort of crowded on both the right and left with Plato and Aristotle, but then there's more of an open space on the staircase, suggesting to the viewer that they're moving forward, about to come down the staircase, allowing them a pathway. But we can see Diogenes, or I'm sorry, we can see Heraclitus on the left, who is sort of lost in his own thoughts. He's obviously writing something, but he is looking down, looking away from what he is writing, almost as if he is distracted, lost in his own thoughts. And Raphael actually portrayed this as Michelangelo paying homage to the famous painter. Along with this, there are many, many, many other figures in the painting, nameless figures who we do not know who they are, they do not seem familiar, but it allows the viewer to gaze, and you can still see details. You can still paint a picture and think of a story with each character in the painting. Though some may not be as important as Plato, Aristotle, Pythagoras, you still have a sense of gracefulness and a sense of flow, allowing the viewer to look anywhere in the painting and still see minute detail. For example, to the right of Plato and Aristotle, there's a crowd of people, and just to the right of them, There are two people, one sort of leaning on the wall as if being lazy, sort of not necessarily um, paying attention, but they're also looking at the person directly to their left, writing, holding their knee up and writing, almost as if they are studying hard, trying to learn, but still in the back of the school. It is very similar to something you'd see in a university, a high school, thus giving off the feeling that we are in a school, we are in a place of knowledge. Along with this, to come to a close, the linear perspective used is very rigorous. Again, it goes back to that free-flowing state. We've got a divide right down the middle, which allows us to focus on the middle, that being the focal point. But then it also branches off into many different parts of the painting: the architecture, the groups of people, the posture of Heraclitus. Um, and the orthogonals are the same way. The orthogonals can be traced back off the pavement as they recede back into the focal point of the painting. And these are my bibliography. Thank you.